Hello and welcome to a exciting current events edition of Pittsburgh Sports Memories for this week of January here. Tim really wants to talk Pirates spring training, but we've decided we'll discuss just football instead.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get into the spring training another day because I'm raring to go for that for sure.
Well, as usual, I'm the co-host Stewart. I'm joined by.
I'm Tim Hannon.
Alrighty, it's the Football Palooza playoff edition. Your Pittsburgh Steelers have lost to the Houston Texans. Just some background: Houston had never won on the road. They were 0-6 in the playoffs in the history of the Houston Texan franchise. The Steelers had not won a playoff game in 6 tries. But the Steelers had not lost a Monday night game since the Chuck Noll era. Yeah, 30-6. It was ugly. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I guess here's some numbers. Aaron Rodgers was 17-33, 146 yards passing, which is just horrible. An interception and a fumble, which were both returned for touchdowns, which actually if the defense would have been the only thing that scored for the Texans, they still would have won 14-6. Jaylen Warren had 12 carries for 43 yards. Kenny Gainwell had 6 carries for 20 yards. Receiving, really pathetic performance by DK Metcalf. 2 catches for 42 yards. And once again, our best wide receiver was our running back, Kenny Gainwell. This is like the Frenchie Fuqua days here. 4 catches for 25 yards. CJ Stroud did his best to keep the Steelers in the game, even hand the Steelers the game. He did. He said, "Here's the game on a silver platter. Why won't you take it?" And the Steelers like, no, we couldn't do that. That would not be us not being a gracious host. So the Steelers were very gracious hosts on Monday evening, he had 4 fumbles total. Only 2 of them were lost. He had an interception, and all of that, Tim, they only were able to get 3 points off of all of that silliness.
Yeah.
Somebody named Woody Marks, the running back, got 19 carries for 112 yards. The immortal Christian Kirk, he's right up there with Jerry Rice, Tim. You can't stop him, can only hope to contain him. He had 8 catches for 144 yards.
Yeah, one of the narratives I don't think is fair about this game is that the defense got gashed again. The defense got gashed by Woody Marks and Christian Kirk. It was 7-6 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they didn't give up 14 points. Like what was it, 30? So take away 14 of those
Right.
30 points.
Right.
Well, this is the killer. This is what killed the Steelers defense is the Texans went 10 for 15 on third down. That's horrible. That's bad defense. Yeah, the other thing that killed the team was the Steelers went 2 for 14 on third down. That's what a good defense does. Not that the Steelers have a great offense, but
The games in the second half of the season where the defense kind of was suspect were always the games where the offense just gave them zero help at all, like the Buffalo game.
yeah, this was kind of a replay of the Buffalo game.
It was like the defense kind of kept us in it. They got some turnovers. They were kind of hanging in there. But then like when they're on the field all the time and nobody's getting points and they're like, here's a fumble, here's an interception. And the offense is like, yeah, we're just going to punt that back to them. That eventually just turns into like, okay, we can only stop them so many times. We don't have the 85 Bears defense. We don't have the 2025 Texans defense either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I know Rodgers played bad. I know Metcalf played bad. But at some point, we do have to acknowledge that their defense is really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
And you and I said 2 months ago, Steve, that was a team we were most scared of in the AFC because of that.
Well, I didn't
they
realize
proved it.
I didn't realize CJ Stroud was that bad.
He's not. He had a bad game. He's not
I
that
don't.
bad.
Well, the game really turned. Like I said in the first quarter, they totally had CJ Stroud totally rattled. He was totally rattled. It's like all they did was take advantage. There was one play where they dropped a snap or something. He wasn't looking for it, and the Steelers defense couldn't do anything about it. He ran around and threw I think an incomplete pass, and it was like 2nd and 2 instead of like either being like 2nd and 15 or an interception or that's just the difference between like having a good defense and a great defense. Like
Yeah.
Houston,
Yeah.
when Rodgers fumbled, Houston picked it up, touchdown. You get punished. When you make a mistake, you are punished.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And same with the offense. The offense, the first drive they made it to like midfield, they punted. I'm like, okay, that's a great start. That's a great start. You're moving the ball a little bit. Second drive, I think it was the second drive. That's when they got the field goal. So like early on, they were moving the ball.
Well, they were running the ball okay at the first couple drives, and then it just they couldn't run the ball anymore.
The game really not turned, but like all the momentum, whatever little bit of momentum, like they were slowly building up. Like, okay, we can get some yards here, we can get some yards there. It was when Metcalf dropped that pass because that was after Stroud had that like fumble. I wasn't sure if they rolled out a fumble or an interception.
And they were saying like on the broadcast, oh, he only runs 2 routes, and then he ran a different route, and Rodgers threw a good pass.
Yeah,
it's where it needed to be, and he was pretty wide open.
He should have had that, and that would have been 3 points. And like if that game goes into the fourth quarter with us leading 9-7, I'm not saying we win. I don't think it gets as out of hand as it got.
Well, because like at some point you have to open up the offense.
Right.
And that's kind of the difference between the Ben years in the playoffs and the Rodgers is they were smart enough to like, okay, let's just take it easy, be careful with the football. And once they had to open up the offense, there was just like no answer. Like then the Texans defense could do what they do best, rush the passer.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody realized this, but what's the guy's name? That guy's our 4th string tackle.
Yeah, Cook, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what do you expect out of the guy? He's going against the best pass rushers in the NFL for the Texans, and like you're going with like not even your best offensive lineman. That isn't Broderick Jones out there. This is like your 3rd or 4th best guy getting totally just demolished, which he should,
Yeah, you know what I thought, Steve? Like here's you can argue a lot of things in football. Here's one thing you can't argue. To make it to the AFC playoffs, you have to be one of the 7 best teams in the AFC. To advance in the AFC playoffs, you have to be one of the 4 best teams in the AFC. And the last 5 years, the Steelers have been consistently one of the 7 best teams in the AFC, but never once, I would say, have they been one of the 4 best. And so that's what happens in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, a lot of that falls on the quarterback play.
Yeah.
But the year before that really was the defense because they couldn't stop the run at the end of the season.
Yeah. And before that it was playing Josh Allen, and before that it was playing Mahomes.
It's just since 2016, boy, and I've said this before, when they lost that chance, they beat the Chiefs that year. They beat the Dolphins and the Chiefs in like kind of a suspect win too. Remember that? Like there was some ref called a hold that took away a 2-point conversion. And then they played the Patriots and got demolished because Le'Veon Bell was like, I'm not playing. And that ended the Steelers like being competitive for a Super Bowl. And it's just, I don't know. I guess it's, this has been the story of this franchise and the story of this team since the Troy Polamalu, James Ferrier, Aaron Smith guys got old and retired, is they haven't been able to get over the hump. And they had a lot of guys on offense. The Bell, Brown, and Ben era were very not Ben so much, but Bell and Brown were just not good teammates. And I said that back then. They were hard to root for. They were jerks. They still are. And you know what? You need a team that is together and is playing for each other. I mean, you need the talent, but they just never have had that since the Super Bowl 45.
They've had and they haven't had the talent of like Brown and Bell since those guys left. I mean that's what I'm saying.
But even when they had that you can't have guys like that are such selfish jerks.
Agree.
Yeah, but they had the talent. They just didn't have the teamwork. And now they have the teamwork, but now they don't have the talent.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a different. That 2010s problem is a different problem than the 2020s problem. The 2020s problem, we have good guys on the team now,
but no, we don't have enough of the talent. It reminds me very much of the 90s where it's like we have some talent, but just not enough to get over the hump for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I don't think we even have the talent we had in the 90s. Like my brother and I were sitting at that game the other night, just like even when it was 7-6, you're just hoping for like a pass interference or like some kind of fluky, like somebody gets open, because even when it was 7-6, it felt like there's no way they're ever going to score again.
Yeah, I felt like that in the third quarter. I felt like they could have gone to a college style overtime with the Steelers offense, put them on the 25, and if they weren't allowed to kick a field goal, they weren't going to score. Yeah.
Yes, totally agree. My brother said to me, like, we don't have any weapons. Like they have this amazing otherworldly defense, and we're attacking it with a 42-year-old quarterback throwing to MVS and Adam Thielen and tiny little Calvin Austin,
who dropped the pass. He didn't drop. It was a very tough catch, but it's like, dude, you got to make that catch. But once again, like,
but he's not that good. I like him.
That's it.
He's a nice
that's it.
Player.
He's a slot receiver,
right?
At best.
That's what I'm saying, Steve. We don't have the talent. We literally.
I said this beginning of the year. It's the Joshes and Joes, not the X's and O's.
It is. Now, I think we still get out coached in those games. That's why there is a difference between losing those games and losing them by a lot of points. Although, again, from a narrative perspective, I do not consider that game the other night a blowout. I know it looks like a blowout.
It felt like a lot different than the other games where, like Jacksonville, we were down 24 points or something.
Right. Say in Baltimore and Buffalo and Kansas City, all those games were like huge. Like they were over at halftime. This was definitely different than that. But we're just not that good of a team. I mean, and that's they had all that talent in the 2010s. They didn't win for the reasons you said. And then, I'm we're gonna do like a full kind of episode on this in the off season for our regular podcast. But there's the roster construction in this decade was not good. It got set back several years by the last three Colbert drafts up to and including the Kenny Pickett selection.
Yeah, Najee Harris and Kenny Pickett destroyed this team. Have any chance? Like, you have to pick two different people.
Yeah, again, there's a bunch of different things they could have done. So they're slowly. I do think they're slowly digging out from under that, but they're trying to patchwork together teams. Again, how are you going to beat that?
I think you could have beat that defense with Aaron Rodgers if he has a speed wide receiver. Right. If he has. I don't know if he has Jordan Addison or who's the other really good wide receiver in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, Jefferson. Yeah.
And like people are saying, like somebody I was watching, some of the post mortem on the mainly national guys. They were saying like Aaron Rodgers was trying to wait out Minnesota. And I was thinking Minnesota probably would have made the playoffs if they have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Probably
with those wide receivers, like Aaron Rodgers is still like, say what you want about Aaron Rodgers, but like I said, if you keep him upright, he still has an arm. He's not like Ben or Peyton Manning at the end of his career where he just had no arm strength. But that guy can still throw the ball. He can't run like he used to, but he can still sling it, man, and accurate too.
Yeah, I think that Vince Lombardi in his prime coaching that exact group of players on Monday night wouldn't have beat the Texans. I just they're just a better team. And if that was a 7-game series, the
A
Texans
4-game
win.
sweep.
Well, yeah, I mean, either way they win. It's not like, and that's another difference between the 2010s. Like that Jacksonville game, that we lost at home. We should have won that.
But we couldn't stop the run. I saw that one coming because that was another year we couldn't stop the run.
Fair,
So,
but that
yeah.
offense should have been good enough to at
Yeah.
least keep pace, and they, so it was a difference there where we were losing games we shouldn't. I feel like these last couple of years, I mean, again, were we a better team than the 2024 Ravens? No. Were we a better team than the 2023 Bills? No. Were we a better team than the 2021 Chiefs? No. We were always coming in here as
Yeah.
not the better team. Doesn't mean you can't
But
win.
2017, I thought we were probably better than the Jaguars, but we couldn't stop the run, and that was when I thought, well, this is the type of team that probably beats them. And the Jaguars, and to be fair, the Jaguars the next week did give like the Patriots kind of some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a monumental upset, but it was different than this. Like it wasn't like we came into that game thinking like, oh boy, this team's just heads and tails.
The Texans were a 3-point favorite and covered and hit the over, I think.
Yeah, and they're really, really good. Honestly, I again, we said it back in November. This is the year for a team like that to win the Super Bowl.
If CJ Stroud plays like that, they're not going anywhere.
No,
they're not going anywhere.
He's better than that. He's better.
I hope so for their sake, because that defense is really
Did you see the Patriots game? Drake May had similar problems. He wasn't real sharp either.
Well, that's going to be the battle of the not so great quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think they're both pretty good. I think they just had bad weeks. But again, we'll see.
The Steelers didn't have much success against playoff level teams, like you said. Do you know the only playoff team they beat this season? Team that was in the playoffs that the Steelers beat
the Patriots.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Every other team that was in the playoffs that they played, they lost to. So it's kind of like their 10 wins are kind of like a mirage a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they beat the teams that they should.
And even the Patriots win. I mean, the Patriots turned the ball over like 5 times.
And it was at the beginning of the season when things are different. They overachieved, I think, given the roster they had.
I think 10 wins. I think 8 wins was kind of where they should have settled.
Yes.
And then they got 2 extra wins that probably the Jets game and the Patriots game was 2 games they probably should not have won.
One of the 2 Ravens.
Or the Detroit game.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. Or Minnesota. Minnesota was not a terrible team either. So, yeah, you're right. There's a bunch of you're spot on. That's really what the team was. And like in a vacuum, you could look at that season and say, boy, that's probably better than they could have done. But then it's like, man, to get to that point, to have that huge, massive, one of the greatest games in the history of the stadium win to get into the playoffs. And then it's like, hey, we're right back to where we were at the end of every other season. That just didn't feel good at all.
Well, I guess it's Poetry Corner with Steve. If you remember, I think it was people got screwed by Pittsburgh. I think it was that podcast episode where we talked about the Ralph Kiner Branch Rickey feud.
Oh yeah, and he wrote the limerick.
Yeah. So I decided to channel my inner Branch Rickey and write my limerick about the Steelers. Some teams score when the other team turns the ball over. Ours does not, Tim. Some teams have a good offensive line. Ours does not. Finally, some teams have a coach who wins a playoff game once a decade. Ours does not.
Or maybe it will pretty soon.
Yes, that leads into the big elephant in the room. Mike Tomlin is no longer the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't believe I said that sentence, Tim.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
That's unbelievable. Here's the first point of contention before I go through all of his, whatever. I guess, we'll have to do a episode on this. This will be a regular podcast episode at some point. It's this big of a subject. Was it a resignation or was it a firing?
It was a resignation.
Sure. Okay. Whatever. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
No, it's a resignation. There's no way
I
because
don't believe that for a second.
oh, I no.
I think one of two things happened. He walked in and they said, "Hey, you got to hire some real assistants." And Tomlin said, "I think I'm better than this, and I'm going to leave." Or B, they said, "Hey, you can either resign or you're going to be fired."
Yeah,
And we'll say,
I don't know. I don't think so. The Art Rooney isn't. You know how I know that? Here's why I know that. Because it happened literally like what 14 hours after the game ended. There's no way that happens that quickly. If it's a firing, it would have played out like look at the way Baltimore did it. You
yeah.
know, that was 2 or 3 days after the game ended. That's how that would have played out. I think that was absolutely a resignation, and I'm interested to hear. We're recording this on the day it happened, so we haven't really heard from Tomlin yet.
And I have a press release from Tomlin.
Yeah, but all it is just like a thank you to the fans and
Right.
stuff.
So
Like I want to hear when did he make this decision?
he's never gonna say that, Tim.
Oh, I
It's
think
gonna
he
be a
might.
bunch of word salad, and the standard is the standard, and don't blink, and a bunch of platitudes. He's never. It's like Cower, like how Cower. Nobody believed Cower was going to retire, and then he did. I don't know.
Here's another reason why I don't think it was a firing because now he can't go anywhere he wants to go.
Well,
We
he
still have his
can.
rights.
He can, but what, the Steelers have to be compensated or something?
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, if that's a if
Unless
that's a
he's going to sit
firing,
out for 2 years, and then right, he would just have to sit out for 2 years.
yeah, but if he's fired, Steve, he doesn't want to do that. If he's fired, he's going to go somewhere else immediately because he still wants to coach, and the Steelers said you can't coach here anymore. I think that'll be the other telling thing. If he wants to, if he was fired, then I think he's going to be right away finding another job.
Oh, I mean, everybody's, oh, he's going to hired here, he hired there, Giants, Falcons. I even saw somebody with the Raiders blog, pontificating that if he goes to the Raiders, he's nuts. But
He's not. I think again,
everybody I think the common sense, like the smart money, says he takes a year or two off and then goes and gets another job, or maybe he goes to the Giants. Like the Giants seem like his kind of team, like
right,
he could
similar.
yeah. And they have a young quarterback. He has that Scadaboo, which he can run into the ground. I mean, Scadaboo think he's hurt now. Wait till Tomlin gets done with him.
It all depends. Again, it all depends on his motivation for doing this. Did he decide months ago that this is probably going to be his last season?
I think it is, because look at the way they ran the team. Look at what they did this year.
That's another reason I think he
because
resigned.
like they never signed DK Metcalf. They never signed Aaron Rodgers. I've never seen him do things like this. I think this was a last ride. Hey, let's go all in one last time. Let's get it out of our system. Because I said that too. I thought he would have retired or left if they won the Super Bowl.
Right. So that also makes me think that it wasn't a disguised firing. I don't think he was pushed out. I think Art Rooney's just the Steelers don't fire coaches. And I know you could, but this wasn't like the Bruce Arians thing where it's like you retired and it's like I did. Yeah, I did. That's not what this is. I'd be shocked if that's what happened. I think this was him. That's why I said I want to hear from him. I want to hear was this.
Good luck with that. Good luck interpreting that gibberish.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think at this point he can let his guard down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's not talking about next week's game.
No way.
It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see.
And for that, I do think Mike Tomlin's a good person. I don't think he's like a jerk. I don't like. It's not like Todd Graham, where it's like, get the heck out of here. I don't.
He's a good coach too. We said this before. Like I one of my biggest at this point annoyances in life is that we as a culture are incapable of like holding two thoughts in our head at the same time. Everything's got to be one extreme or another. You see that all the time in politics,
it's easier.
News, and
it's lazy.
It's easier,
and it riles people up.
Yeah, and it makes people argue. But like, to me, it's entirely reasonable to think that Mike Tomlin is a really good coach and things got stale and it was time for him to go. Like both of those things can be true at the same time, just like it was with Mike Sullivan, just like it was with Chuck Noll. Both things can be true at the same time.
Well, do you want to hear some Mike Tomlin stats?
Sure.
Sure. Good, bad, and ugly. Good. Hey, he coached the Steelers for 19 years. That's unheard of in professional sports.
Yeah.
The only Lindy Rupp with the Sabres. That's about it.
The guy with the Spurs, he was there forever.
Yeah.
Popovich.
Popovich.
Yeah.
It's just unheard of.
Yeah.
He won Super Bowl 43. Unfortunately, he lost Super Bowl 45 to one Aaron Rodgers. He had 193 wins in a regular season. That's 201 wins overall, including the postseason. His 193 wins is the 9th all time. Guess who he's tied with, Tim? Ironically,
the Emperor.
Yeah, Chuck Noll. Do you know who has the most wins among active coaches in the NFL currently?
Andy Reid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know who has the most all time?
Belichick? No.
Close. He's third. Belichick is third, and then Hallis is second.
Shula, yeah.
Hallis is second. Don Shula is. Talk about a guy that hung around too long and just compiled wins. Nobody says that about Don Shula, and he lost in the first round like by 70 points every year. He basically had the same end of his career
that's actually a good point. That's actually a really good point.
Like Dan Marino, I had him hang around for 10 more years than he should have.
Yeah.
And every year, like, oh, the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. Oh, the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl because they love Don Shula. Whatever. Last playoff win was that divisional round over the Chefs, the Alex Smith Chefs. They lost the AFC Championship game, which was obviously like one of those turning points of the universe where everything is converged upon one point in 2016, or it could just be a really big coincidence. But they had some embarrassing losses along the way. We talked about the Jaguars team with Blake Bortles, the immortal Blake Bortles, whatever sheets he's working at. Tim Tebow in Denver is probably another embarrassing loss. He tied Marvin Lewis for the most consecutive playoff losses in a row. Yay!
Again, that's another stat you have to dig into a little bit because, again, the last 4 of those were games where we were just up against teams that were way, way better than us, and we probably didn't have any business being there in the first place.
You think you can say that? I don't know. Say that about the Marvin Lewis Bengals teams too. I don't know. He doesn't really have a coaching tree, I guess we could say that. I mean, Bruce Arians, Mike Munchak, Todd Haley, Dick LeBeau, those are all kinds of established guys. I don't know that Cowher had. I mean, who was the guy, the defensive coordinator? Dom
Capers, yeah.
And then Dick LeBeau coached for both. I mean, I don't know if Dick LeBeau kind of had his own coaching.
Ken Gailey was a head coach too. So Cowher and Mike Mularkey. Cowher definitely had more.
Ken Wisenhunt.
Yeah. Cowher definitely had more of a coaching tree. But Cowher also, to your point, kind of hired more of the up and coming kind of guys.
I think that's another reason like Tomlin ended up kind of digging his own grave is because he tended to stick with like yes men. I think that's a problem. Except for I mean, he did hire Todd Haley, the couple exceptions, Todd Haley, Mike Munchak, and Arthur Smith. I don't think are,
But those guys were also established head coach. That was like the equivalent of when Cowher hired Kevin Gilbride. Yeah. Because Kevin Gilbride at that point wasn't going to be a head coach again, but he had been a head coach. So maybe it's that. Now, to be fair, Tomlin also had some really bad hires like Matt Canada.
Yeah. Sticking with Matt Canada a whole
sticking with him. Yep. Yeah. So Tomlin, his evaluation of coaching personnel is definitely mixed.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the statement from Art Rooney II? Does anyone want to hear it?
Sure.
During our meeting today, Coach Tomlin informed me that he's decided to step down as our head coach. Obviously, I am extremely grateful to Mike for all the hard work, dedication, and success we have shared over the last 19 years. It's hard for me to put into words the level of respect and appreciation I have for Coach Tomlin. He guided the franchise to our sixth Super Bowl championship and made the playoffs 13 times during his tenure, including winning the AFC North 8 times in his career. His track record of never having a losing season in 19 years will likely never be duplicated. My family and I and everyone connected to the Stillers management are forever grateful for the passion and dedication Mike Tomlin has devoted to Steelers football. Nice, classy, what you would expect out of the Rooneys.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I can't imagine after 20 years together that he fired him hours after a game ended. I can't, and I can't imagine that Tomlin, the way he does things, just was like, oh, I feel really crappy about this game, I quit. Like,
well, that's what people are. Yeah, that makes sense too. Like, he's been obviously thinking about this. I think he's been thinking about this since the summer.
Well,
just because look at
the roster
way
moves. Yeah. I mean, that's probably the best point of all that you made is that the way that they built the team this year did kind of have that like last ride feel to it.
Yeah,
because they weren't ready to take that. And I think like if people are looking for optimism, I said the last 3 Colbert drafts were disasters. The first 3 con drafts have been actually pretty good if you look up and down. So I think they are kind of building something, but they're trying to patchwork it together with, again, like Adam Thielen and Jabril Peppers and all these guys that are just were good in 2018. Like,
yeah.
So at some point you have to like just okay, we're and this is the perfect excuse to do it. Now Tomlin's gone. There's a perfect excuse to say, okay, now we're really into a rebuild. We can actually afford to start either a rookie or Howard or a bridge quarterback like Mason next year. We don't have to make it to the playoffs. We don't have to win 10 games.
The Will Howard gambit, as they're calling it on the Madden show. Like, if you play Will Howard, like, can you lose? Like, can you intentionally tank and get like a high draft pick?
Yeah, and they won't. I don't know if Will Howard's good enough to be a starting quarterback, but
is he good enough to tank the team? Is it like the '83 Penguins where?
No, I don't. I have no idea. I've never seen him play in the pros because he was hurt in the preseason, so we don't really know. But I guess my point just being that with Tomlin there, you're always going to try to like, okay, get whatever we can to be as competitive as possible, and now you can just kind of like let the air out of that bubble and just be like, okay, if it's okay if we start an experienced quarterback next year because it's probably going to take a few years to get back on track, and that's fine.
Well, do you want to hear fan reaction, Tim, or do you want to hear Tomlin? I don't have the heart to read Tomlin's statement. I'll just read the last thing. It says, with this chapter comes to a close, my respect and love for the Pittsburgh Steelers will never change. I'm excited for what the future holds for this organization, and I'll be forever grateful for my time coaching in Pittsburgh. I am like getting into the fan reaction, how I felt. I mean, I knew it was bittersweet.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Like I'm not like one of these people. Like, people are saying all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I guess people are crazy. That's why they're called fanatics. Short for fanatic. I mean, and I don't know. I'm a fan. I don't know what it is about me as I've gotten older. Maybe I've matured. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is going to ruin my day. Like, I know some people this really ruined their day, and it's like. There was people like on the radio and they were playing these comments on ESPN. It was embarrassing. Like, oh, hallelujah, the evil coach is gone. But ESPN's agenda was like, oh, look at these people. They're a bunch of racists. That was kind of their agenda.
Well, their agenda is also like, let's find the craziest.
Yeah. What do you want to hear from the guy from Paul from Mount Washington who called the fan this morning while I was on the shuttle to work? He said he called Mike Tomlin, I think Ryan Clark too. He called them a socialist collectivist for saying we or so. He's like, oh, there's socialist collectivist agenda and this. I was like, what does this have to do with the football team? I mean, I guess the football team is kind of a collective, but that's because it is like the sport of football lends itself, I guess, to that kind of socialist ethos, I guess, like 11 people all working towards one goal, but they're there willingly. They're not forced by the government to do this. And they do make millions of dollars. I like to say, like, if like, I couldn't imagine doing my job and like, I make 5 mistakes a day at my job, which is not probably a great thing to admit, but could you imagine, Tim, at your job, if every little mistake you had everybody on Twitter, ESPN, oh my God, Steve forgot to put his TPS cover report on his sheet. Oh, what an idiot. There he is again. What is wrong with him? When is he going to get it together?
Right.
We had such high hopes for this guy, and he just let us you've let the whole, like, I can't imagine with that kicker from Baltimore, just you've let the whole city of Baltimore down. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'll say about fans, the media, the way the media works now, everything's clickbait, everything's, it's reaction based. And so the national media, especially this year, has tried to portray Steeler fans as universally hating Tomlin. And that are people
fire Tomlin.
Yeah, even that. Yeah. I was at the game.
Were they really? I had the sound down.
So there were you could hear like 1 or 2 people trying to get it started, or a group of people trying to get it started. It never once took over the whole stadium, like
the Buffalo game.
60s, but even that wasn't again, that was portrayed a certain way. By the time that chant started, literally half that stadium had left. So it's the idea that, again, like collectively, every Steeler fan wanted Tomlin fired. I think every Steeler fan is disappointed. I think every Steeler fan is feeling like, man, we're tired of Groundhog Day. Something needs to change. But the idea that, I mean, go look at the reactions to, like, go look on the Steelers Facebook feed and the statement that Art Rooney posted. See how many likes and hearts and care emojis there are, as opposed to laughter and hatred. And you have to remember, Steve, if you thought Tomlin is a good guy and a good coach and maybe it's time for a change, you're not posting that on social media. What you're going on social media to post is, oh, this guy sucks, we gotta get rid of him, blah blah blah. That's also, you're not calling the radio shows. Yeah, that's what I mean.
He's waving his little commie flag, like,
yeah. So people need to be really careful about the thing that the media does. They don't just do it in sports, but especially in sports, where they want to create narratives, because those narratives then fuel more posts and more stories that more people click on and more people argue about. And I don't think that every Steeler fan just hated Mike Tomlin and wanted him gone. I do think every Steeler fan was disappointed. And I think a lot of Steeler fans, again, I hope, maybe this is me being too optimistic, but I hope a lot of Steeler fans were grateful for his time here, thought he was a good coach, and, thanks for everything. Maybe it's just time for a change.
And we might suck. It might be 4 or 5 more years before we have another playoff game.
And
it could be.
That might be okay at this point. I think I would rather, after losing in the first round every year, I think I'm ready for that, as opposed to losing in the first round every year, if it means we're building something. It's all going to depend on who the coach is and who the quarterback is, Steve. Honestly, that's what it's all going to come down to.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers comes back. Speaking of what's next, no. I think he's done. Like, he wanted to play. He likes Tomlin. He played for Tomlin. I think he's done.
I think even if he wants to come back, we should say thank you so much for your service. You served us well. You were a great quarterback. You were a model citizen.
He would. You know what? How about a little thought? You want to have a fun thought experiment, Tim? Let's switch C.J. Stroud and Aaron Rodgers. What happens then? I bet Houston wins the Super Bowl easily. They have that Nico Collins, like a for real wide receiver, and apparently Christian Kirk's not bad either. I mean, he doesn't have to move around a lot. Just play his game manager and make a few plays at the end of a game if they need him, And with that defense, they're fine. Yeah. I mean, what TJ Watt is TJ Watt has never won a playoff game, right?
Correct.
Has Cam Hayward, was he around to win
Yeah,
a
he
playoff?
was. Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel bad for those guys because they have been good people, good players, played their hearts out, and they're not going to get rewarded. But Carnell Lake never won a Super Bowl either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's every good player for the Cleveland Browns for the last 50 years.
Yeah, Joe Thomas never even played. Like he played like what, one playoff game?
Yeah,
maybe two.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It is really hard, and I think that's another thing to remember. As disappointed as we all are, or whatever, when you look back at Tomlin's record, I think people, just like Cowher, I think people will appreciate Tomlin more
in 5 years.
In 5 years, yeah.
After we've had like consecutive 4 and whatever seasons.
Well, or even if we're good, I think people would still appreciate him. Like Noel, when Noel left, my goodness, like people were so tired of Noel. People wanted Noel gone he's probably stayed 4 or 5 years too long. And maybe that's why I really want to see if Tomlin opens up about this at all, because I do think Tomlin has enough self-awareness, and he always talks about upholding standards. And I just wonder if he thought, I'm not, this isn't, I don't want to be a caricature of myself, and stay so long that this keeps not working. I don't know.
Do we? I don't really have this in my notes. Do you even want to? I mean, the body's not even cold. Dare we speak of who's going to get hired?
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know. Maybe that's best left for another time.
Well, no, I mean,
sure. Okay. You want to throw the craziness I've heard Kurt Signetti from Indiana. I hope not. I don't think
he's
that guy's
64 years old. That's not what the Steelers do. They don't hire a 64-year-old coach.
I know I've heard Kevin Stefanski. He's a good coach, but I mean, he's kind of had a crap organization.
I would love Kevin Stefanski, actually. I mean,
he seems like he's a good coach, except he doesn't know how to keep Baker Mayfield on the team, but maybe that wasn't his fault.
Wasn't his decision. Yeah. I really believe that was all ownership, and that Barry, who's a terrible, terrible GM, I said it last week. I think that he got a totally raw deal in Cleveland. And honestly, I want an offensive coach. That's not a Steeler. That's not what the Steelers do. I get it. But I want an offensive coach. I think if you're a good offensive coach, you can hire a good defensive coordinator to run the defense.
Well, Mike McCarthy's still available, but that's another old guy.
They're not going to, he's a cast. The only reason Mike McCarthy is even being mentioned by people is because he's from here. If Mike McCarthy was from Atlanta, you'd never hear his name even mentioned in the same breath as a Steeler candidate.
Here's another fun one, and I don't think they just want him on the staff, but I didn't realize this. And have you ever heard of a little kind of a mediocre wide receiver from Pitt, from Norwin, named Mike Shanahan? He's their offensive coordinator in Indiana. So,
yeah,
I mean, that guy's like barely, I don't know. Somebody threw that out there. It was like, people are just throwing names out there. What's that? Why don't we have Mark Cuban coach the team, or like Joe Manganiello? Yeah, let's have like all the Pittsburgh celebrities. They'll take a turn coaching the team for the week.
Yeah, the names being thrown out because they're from here, I think, are dumb. I think you hear Chris Shola's name because he's kind of that. Yeah. You would have fun with them hiring a Shola. But
no, because who was that other Shula that was horrible?
David.
That's his father, isn't it? Or no?
I
don't know how many sons.
Yeah, Don's his grandfather. I know that. I don't remember if David or the other. Yeah, but he's been the defensive coordinator of the Rams. That's a Steeler kind of hire, like a guy in their 30s. It's a defensive coordinator. The other interesting name is Marcus Freeman, and I don't think he would leave Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I saw on the crawl on ESPN that they said Marcus Freeman is totally committed to Notre Dame, which means he's totally hired for the Steelers.
Well, doesn't he just have the vibe of a Steeler coach?
He kind of. I don't like him. So
Why? Because you just don't like Notre Dame.
I don't
What
like
you
Notre
like
Dame.
about him?
You smug jerk. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'd grow to like him. I don't know. I just don't like Notre Dame.
You just don't like Notre Dame, and that's
I don't like
fair.
Charlie Weiss either, and he's a jerk.
Yeah, but he is a smug. Freeman strikes me as like a very grounded, good leader of men kind of guy, and that's that. You could
Smug
see
jerk that tries to sell me over the male meals. I want to be fat, Marcus Freeman. Screw you. Go not be in the playoff. Ha ha. Don't go to your Pop-Tarts bowl.
So I don't know that he would leave Notre Dame, but this is somebody. I think it was Dejan Kovacevic said today. This is the premier job in all of pro sports because there's no other.
I've heard that. I don't know.
It is. I'll tell you why. You want to?
I heard that from Rich Eisen too. He said this is the Steelers' comment. This is your one chance to like get a job that you probably won't get fired from.
That's it. That's the reason. That's why it's the premier job. It's not because if you go to Baltimore, you have a franchise quarterback. If you go to Green Bay, if they end up firing LaFleur, you have a franchise quarterback. But the reason it's the premier job is because you won't get fired. Because every other job is, well, you better win in those first 3 or 4 years, and you better do whatever it takes to do that, even if it means selling the future and making decisions that aren't the best for long-term success. And that's what every other organization in sports has to deal with, except the Steelers. You could argue the same for the Ravens. I think they're also pretty patient. So I think that job's right up there.
I think the Jets and Raiders,
That's what I mean. Like, go ahead, go to the Jets, go to the Falcons. See how many years you get before the owner gets impatient and says, "Go to Cleveland." My God, see how many years you get before the owner gets impatient and then fires you. That's why this is not a premier job because the Steeler way and the Steelers are so the history and that. No, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's because you won't get fired and you can have a 5-year plan and the ownership will let you implement that. There was no other place where that'll happen except, like I said, maybe Baltimore.
Or I can't believe Zach Taylor is the senior member of the AFC North coaching
We said
fraternity.
That last week.
Yeah,
do you remember we said
that
on the podcast last week that he might be the last man standing? And Don Kelly is now the most tenured coach in Pittsburgh.
Don Kelly?
Yeah.
Wow. For the Pirates?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so. 2 years. Yeah.
But Dan Muse got hired after Don Kelly.
Yeah.
And now the Steelers need a coach. So Don Kelly's been around what since middle of 2025.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah, he's the longest tenured coach in Pittsburgh pro sports.
Nice.
Wild. It's a wild time, Steve. It's a wild time.
Well, speaking of that, Tim, do you want some good news? Hey,
sure.
The Pirates pitchers and catchers will report for spring training in the middle of February. So we got that to look forward to. I've appreciated. I love doing this every week for a little football palooza here and other stuff. We didn't cover any other stuff because did anybody care that Pitt is crap in basketball or the Penguins are maybe or maybe not going to be in the playoffs. There you go. I summed that two up.
And we'll keep doing the once.
Well, we'll go back to our original schedule of like once a month. I think. Yeah. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for a great football season. This was a lot of fun. Next time, we'll probably be able to talk about the Super Bowl champion Houston Texans and what a great quarterback MVP CJ Stroud was of your Super Bowl LX. So I appreciate it. God bless. Check us out on all your podcast services. Give us a high rating so that we keep getting more people in Facebook. Get those comments coming. Tell me how Mike Tomlin's socialism has ruined the Pittsburgh Steelers. And thank you. I'll talk to you next time. God bless.